Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Stress Less, Accomplish More call. My name is Stephanie Matos. I'm a mindset coach here on the Brightly Thrive team. And this call is all about helping you understand different mindset techniques and all different kinds of things from a mindset perspective that can help you with stress management. And more importantly, just to have more fun in life, to experience more positive things. I think we can all agree that in this day and age, the world has gotten quite stressful, and that is not always great when it comes to how you feel inside of your body. It's definitely not good for health. It's definitely not good for being happy all the time, for sure. And so that's why we have these calls so that we can talk about this subject and talk about this topic and come up with some unique and fun strategies that we can use when stress gets the best of us. And I think that there's a few things in life that are guaranteed and some of them that are not guaranteed. And some of the things that are guaranteed is that life will sometimes get challenging. No matter how awesome your life is, no matter how much you love your job or love your spouse or love your family or whatever it is, there's always going to be challenges that come our way. And I think it's really important for us to prepare ourselves either before these things happen, or even if you're in the middle of it right now. So if you're in the middle of a very stressful season of life, this is also a great opportunity to learn some great tools and strategies and techniques, and also talk to some cool people like Randy that I've got on the call right now. So anyways, as I was chatting with Randy already before we hit record, and I let him know that, if there's anything that you would like to talk about, Randy, you can let me know. You can either unmute or type it in the chat. I was gonna ask Randy for a win, but I think his win is that he had an awesome vacation because we already talked about that before I hit record. If you have another win, please feel free to pop that into the chat. And if there's anything, yeah, I had a feeling that you would like to celebrate your vacation. I know I would. I've actually he mentioned that he was in the Flagstaff area. Hopefully, you're okay with me saying that. And that's an area of the country that I have never been to before, and I've heard so many amazing, beautiful things. I have seen Camelback Mountain and things like that, but I know Flagstaff is like another animal altogether. So, anyways, it would be cool for me to be able to see that. I'm in flat Florida, so it's very different terrain here than there is there. So, anyways, you guys, what I was thinking about talking about today is something that it's a concept that not very many people, I think, definitely really don't chat about very, very frequently. And also, I think it's something that doesn't. It's not something that comes naturally. This way of thinking, and what it has to do with is that I think, as I just kind of brought up at the beginning of the call, this day and age of life is quite stressful. Um, the way in which our lives are set up right now are very different to the way that they've been set up even like 100 years ago or 200 years ago, where we're very much computer based. We are seated all the time. We are at everybody's beck and call with these beautiful devices. We have really jam-packed schedules. It's something that is very new to the human system. There really hasn't ever been another day and age quite like this. While we have had other seasons of the evolution of the human species when there was a lot of work involved, however, it was more physical labor, which has a tendency to burn off stress hormones and stress chemicals and all of this kind of stuff. And you sleep like a baby because you're completely exhausted from all of the work that you've done and all of that kind of stuff. And now we're seeing a lot of people are wired but not tired when they get to bed, right? As a result of just being overly stimulated by all of the things. And we're also exposed to a lot of blue light, which also messes up our circadian rhythms. Anyway, I think you guys all are buying what I'm selling here because you live this life, so I'm sure that you understand. And so because of this, there has been some consequences that have happened, which I could probably speak for about 10 hours straight on some of the consequences of these things. I'm going to select one and pluck one out, just because it kind of came to me right before the session as something interesting that we could chat about. Is that when we have quite stressful existences or quite stressful lives, or when we are primarily living in a more stressed out way of being, um, which again is quite common these days for a plethora of reasons, what happens is that starts to not only become a habit, which is not what we're talking about today. So let me just touch on that really quick. When you do something over and over again, whether it's tying your shoes, brushing your teeth, stopping at a stoplight, all of these things, the more you do it, the more habitual they become. And stress is no different. Actually, it can start to become a habit of, oh no, here we go again. It's Monday. Here we go again. Oh no, I'm driving to work. Here we go again. It's like your body kind of gets used to feeling stressed. And what happens is that we start to string a thread through all the different aspects of our life with this same stressful feeling because we're not, and this is no, if you've ever done this before, there's no fault, this is no fault of your own. I don't think most people are aware that they're doing this, but meaning I wake up, open my eyes, and I immediately feel stressed about what's coming later. Right? So it's like, I know that it's a Monday and I know I have this project, or maybe, I've been away for a week and I've probably got a lot of emails or whatever it is. You might wake up and kind of immediately start to have those thoughts. Then you come to work, you have, whatever it is that happens during work. Some days are good, some days, maybe a little bit more stressful than others. And then you drive home and go home, right? And for most people, they're not doing anything between work and home in order to switch hats or turn off that stress cycle or turn off whatever it is that elevated the stress response inside of their body. And even worse, it could be, oh no, I've got to rush home and get my kid to their, extracurricular activity, their baseball game or whatever it is, and now I'm running late. No, no, now there's this lane was there's construction and I didn't know, and now I'm late, and now we're all running late, and now I've got to run home and rush and da, 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 da. And then you're at the game going, so overly stressed because of just the snowball. It's like a snowball effect, if that makes sense. And so this is sounds stressful, just me like describing it. And I can imagine that you guys all, those of you who are watching the replay, and for Randy who's on here, I'm sure that there's been either moments of your life or days when you felt that before. Now, this in and of itself isn't very good for a lot of reasons. It's not very good for your health, for your wellness. It's not very good for your happiness, all of these kind of things. However, there's something that's even more important that I would like to talk about and just kind of like shine some light on, is that there is a saying in neurology that's called whatever fires together wires together, right? So let's use an example of, let's say I walk by this bush out here that's out back, and whenever I walk by that bush, a big, huge snake comes out and hisses at me. Chances are I'm going to fire, oh my gosh, a snake just came out of that bush. Together, I'm not walking by that bush anymore. Okay. So, this very insanely scary experience is going to cause me to think, feel, and act in specific ways. The way that I might think, feel, and act is I'm going to walk around that whole building rather than go through that little shortcut and walk through that bush, because I know a snake lives in there and it probably has a snake wife and kids and goodness knows what, and I don't want to test it out. So I'm just going to go the long way. And I might do that for the rest of my life. So let's say if I live here for the rest of my life, I might end up doing that the whole time because I once had that experience, right? Now, this firing and wiring together can happen with music as well. So if you had, like, let's say you grew up in the 80s and you used to go to clubs in the 80s, and you used to dance or whatever, you might now, if you hear a song from the 80s, go, oh my gosh, I remember we had so much fun dancing to that in blah, blah, blah. Or, 90s or, 2000s music might zip you back into high school or college or whatever you were in during that time, right? The same thing can happen with smells, right? So a lot of people talk about, my grandmother used to make the best apple pie, or my grandmother, and for me, it was more like Latin dishes and things like that. For some people, they may have had a German, ancestry, and maybe it's some kind of German thing or whatever. But, or it could also be like, my grandfather used to always eat peppermint. So every time I smell a peppermint, I think of them, right? So anything that's connected to your five senses can cause things to wire together. And the thing is that they can happen in positive ways or in negative ways. So let's say somebody was really, really mean to me when a certain song was playing. I might, every single time I hear that song, start to feel bad about myself and maybe not even know that it's the song causing it. Maybe not even know that it's the song, right? Let's say somebody was really, really mean to me. I have this pen here. Let's say somebody's really mean to me and it's like, "Get out of here. You're not welcome here." And they throw this pen at me, right? So every time I see this pen, I'm like, I feel really bad about myself, but I don't really realize it's the pen. Okay? So this is also called anchoring is another term for this. A way that people refer to it as fire whatever fires together wires together, right? And why this is important is that sometimes if you're having a very stressed day at work or a very stressed week at work or something like that, what can happen is that if you bring that stressful emotion or that stressful thought or that stressful experience into your home, what can happen is that you can accidentally start to anchor in stressful emotions with the people that you love the most. So let's say you come home stressed from work and you see your husband, wife, kid, partner, whoever it is, face. You come home stressed out, see their face. You come home stressed out, see their face. And let's say you do this every day for several months at a time. What can happen is that you can accidentally wire together. I feel stressed when I see you, right? Or I feel stressed when, let's say, when it's the bell goes off at work and you're allowed to leave, right? But you're thinking about all the stuff that you have to do, like get my kid there and they've got homework and they've got this, or oh my gosh, I've got this extracurricular thing that I signed up for and I'm volunteering, or I have to do this at church or whatever it is, and you start to have stress about that. What can happen is that all of these things that should bring you joy and the people that you love and the volunteering that you love to do or whatever it is can start to be accidentally become stressful because this thing accidentally got wired with what happened previously. What I want to do is just really quickly ask Randy, is this making sense? Um I know I've kind of said a lot of stuff, but I want to ask you if this is something that you've either experienced or have thought of before, whether it be a song reminding you of a time or a smell reminding you of something or something like that. Let me know in the chat whenever you're yes, it does. Okay. So if things can anchor in, like when I see a red light at a stoplight, I know to stop, right? If things can anchor in, like every time I hear this song, I feel sad, or every time I hear this song, I feel really happy. If things can anchor in of smells, every single time I smell this type of pie, I think about all these fun memories, or every time I smell, you probably have smells from when I think you said you lived in Switzerland, right? There's probably certain smells that if you smell it here, you're like, "Oh my gosh, that reminds me of Switzerland," or whatever. So if that happens, right, in other ways, I think we can all wrap our heads around how we can accidentally be creating maybe some messy neurology from work to home, right? And so what I would love to do is just create some maybe suggestions or something fun that you can play with just to see if there's any. Basically, it's like a bleeding over into event. And what we want it more to be, so I'm wearing a hat. I wear hats all the time. You guys probably noticed that. I'm a hat person. But we want to be able to take this hat off, work hat, leave it at work, put another hat on that's like mom or dad or boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, fun person, volunteer, church goer, homeless feeder, or whatever it is that you're going to, and have these two things be separate so that they don't actually accidentally start to bleed over into each other, so that your fun stays fun and work can stay at work. And there's things that we could do to make sure that work isn't so stressful. I think inevitably there will be some stress associated with work due to all the things associated with work. You guys don't, I mean, I don't have to tell you guys. We all know what I mean, right? However, there are things that we can do to minimize it. There are things that we can do to offset it. There are things that we can do to just handle our emotions better. However, this is something that even if this stays super stressful and it never changes, there are things that you can do in the in between phase of work to home, that or work to school or work to fun thing or work to kids games or whatever, that will help you have a better experience with these things and make sure that these things accidentally don't become anchored into or threaded through what the experience was during the day. And some of those things are just I mean, one very simple tool that we can use is just setting a very powerful intention of what we will and won't do, right? So it's like, as soon as I get in this car, I become dad version of me or mom version of me or happy version of me or calm version of me or off work version of me or whatever it is, right? And I'm going to give you an example. So there's a guy named Lewis Hamilton, and if you don't follow Formula 1, um, you probably have never heard of him. However, if you do follow Formula One, you have definitely heard of him because he is I think he's either the most successful or almost as most successful, has the most world championships um, of anybody in F1 history. He has a couple people clawing at his tail, his coattails, but he's been very successful. And when he was a kid, he actually experienced a lot of bullying on the track. So he's an African American guy. Well, I guess he's not actually African American. He's African English, if anything, because he's from England. But he is definitely not American. However, he's a person of color in a predominantly white sport. He was so it's also a very affluent sport, and his dad worked three jobs in order to make sure that he could do it, and he was his own mechanic, and he built all the things. So he got a lot of criticism and ridicule. And how he was able to become who he is now, who he's been knighted by the queen. He has, like I said, had however many world championships under his belt, all of this kind of stuff. He had to have an alter ego, if you will. So basically, when he would enter in his cart, when he was doing go-karting when he was a kid, or when he would enter in his Formula One vehicle, he turns into Superman. Okay. So nothing can hurt him, nothing can stop him, nothing bad happens to him when he's behind this wheel. And he had to do that so that he could actually reach his potential, because he knew that if he brought that into the car, he'd be driving timid and thinking people were looking at him, making fun of him, and all of this kind of stuff, right? And what was nothing more than setting the intention that between these walls of this car is like a force field where I can do anything and anything's possible. And obviously it worked very well because he became who he is today. And so if you can set a powerful intention that you have an anchor, whether that is a hat or glasses or an outfit or the car, or it could even be when I'm drinking this water, as soon as I get into my car, this is where I'm transforming into new version of me, which is the one that does not allow all the gunk and junk that happened before to come in and trickle into my other areas of life, right? So intention setting is something that sounds very simple and easy, and it is, which that's a good thing. We don't like things that are hard. We'd prefer them to be easy. However, I think what's missing is that because it sounds so easy, people don't understand the power of it. And there was actually a study done with, and Randy, feel free to jump in here with anything. If you want to type it or unmute, please feel free. And you're more than welcome to cut me off, whatever. If you have anything to add, please feel free to jump in. So there was a study done where these researchers noticed that people that would work from coffee shops got more done than people that were in offices sometimes, or even people who worked from home. And they had all these different speculations of caffeine powered them through or whatever it was, but this was the case whether they were drinking a peppermint tea, which has no caffeine. Oh good, I'm glad you like what I'm saying. Thank you. I appreciate it. So whether these people drink caffeine or not, or whether they were like this or not, or whether they had 10 lattes or not, they got more done consistently, yes, than they did when they were home by themselves or in their offices. And what they realized is that when people would go to take their laptops to a coffee shop, generally speaking, they had a very powerful intention for that time. So they might be, I'm not leaving this coffee shop today until I clear out my inbox. I'm not leaving this coffee shop today until this report is written. I'm not leaving this coffee shop today until blah, 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 right? And so It really now there was an effect with like less distraction. So like let's say if I'm home, I might be like, oh my gosh, I should be doing my laundry or you know, whatever it is, right? So there was a little bit of an effect with lack of distractions. However, there's also a subset of distractions that come with being out and about in public, right? And so those kind of canceled themselves out. And what they found was that it was the intentions that these people set that really created the ability to be more productive and actually get more done in less time is another thing that they realized. And so how this comes into play, you guys, is that we're constantly setting intentions all the time. Only a lot of them are habitual. So let's say if I'm one of those people, and I used to be, okay, so I can say I used to be like this. I used to wake up and expect that the day was going to go bad. I used to wake up and be one of those people that was like, oh, here we go again. So and so is probably going to be mean, and then it's going to be like that, and then la la la. Like, and I didn't realize what I was doing because I was setting a very powerful intention that I was going to have a bad day. Okay, not the best intention to set. So even if when you wake up in the morning you go, today is going to be an amazing day, I'm going to make sure that I make the best of every situation. Even if something goes wrong, I'm going to take it with ease. And I'm also setting the intention that today is going to be the day that I set myself up for success when I leave, right? And so if you can even just start your day with that powerful thought process, what happens is that the habitual patterns that we all have, all of the subconscious programming that we've all accidentally installed through practice, 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 and just doing it over and over again won't take over automatically because you've already set the intention with your conscious mind that you're going to do something different this time. And when I was talking about like having an anchor, that's what they're actually called, is an anchor that says, as soon as I put on these clothes, it's time for fun. As soon as I take off this hat and put on my baseball cap, it's time for fun. As soon as I get in the car and start drinking my water out of my water bottle, it's time for fun, or at least calm, right? So maybe it's not going to be so fun all the time, but releasing all of the gunk and junk that happened from the day, taking some deep breaths, just some deep cleansing breaths. They don't have to be fancy. It doesn't have to be any type of specific type of breathing. If you want a specific type of breathing that's been scientifically proven to switch on the relax and the relax and digest nervous system, or the one that you want, the calm nervous system, it's called the parasympathetic nervous system. It's two breaths in, quick breaths in, and one bigger breath out, like with a sigh. That actually has been shown to help offset the nervous system. So you can have an outfit change. You can have a when I'm starting to when I hold this pen, I feel like a different person. Like it literally can be anything. It doesn't even have to make sense to anybody but you. Some people do like this. If you meaning they do like physical things where they're like, okay, when I do this 3 times, that this all goes away. You've probably seen athletes do this. So like let's say if there's like a guy at bat, he might kind of like do some kind of little hand gesture or whatever and then hit the ball, and that is him anchoring into, this is the version of me that hits that ball. This is the version of me that gets home runs, right? Whatever it is. And it could be like a nose touch. It could be like a tapping thing. It could be a snapping thing. It could be a breathing thing. It could be whatever it is. So there's physical anchors, there's clothing anchors, there's all different kinds of things that you can actually do to help switch on a different version of you. Switch on. Now, it's still you, right? But what it is consciously choosing which way the neurology is going to go, because the truth is that we are at work for several hours a day, right? For most days of the week. And so what happens is that creates a pattern. And so what we want to do is something that's a pattern interrupt so these things don't spill over into your personal life. Randy, what do you think about this? Interesting? Do you like it? Do you have any insights? Let me know what you think. Very interesting. Is there a part that you find the most interesting? You can unmute.
Yeah, I like the suggestion of being able to switch gears when you get off work. I like the suggestion of starting your day with a positive attitude, determined to get certain things done. You can even narrow it down to things that you know you have to do today, not only just saying, I'm going to get a lot done, but today I will get this done, this done, this done.
Yeah, definitely. So there's two really positive things about that. One is obviously that study showed that if you basically are like, "This thing is getting done." It has more of a chance to get done, right, than if you're like, "I'm just gonna be productive," right? So it's a little more specificity. And then the other thing that you touched on is that intention setting of just setting the powerful intention that today I'm gonna make sure that I focus on XYZ. Now, for some people, if they're on a health journey, it might be like, you know what, today I'm going to make sure that I make the right choices because I know that in office settings, for example, there might be donuts or there might be this or there might be whatever, you know. So it depends on what it is that you're wanting to work on. So if it's like I want to have awareness around how I'm holding stress in my body. I want to have some awareness around the food choices that I'm making today. I want to have some awareness around the fact that I am ready to have great days most of the time. You know, I want to be a happier person. Today I want to be more aware of how I transition from work to home. I want to start to be able to have a cutoff, right? So having some specificity in also even what your intentions are for the day, as well as for the productivity of it all, really helps, as well as for the mindset component of things too. So that's a great insight that you had there around kind of the more specificity part, which I think was a good share there. So, anyways, you guys, time is up. Time is up. Thank you so much for joining me today, Randy. You are a star. Thank you for being here. I'm happy that you're back from vacation. Anyways, you guys, if you are watching the replay, thanks so much for watching the replay. I hope that I get to meet you in person one of these days very soon. We have a lot of fun here. The more, the merrier. And then also, I just always want to make sure that you guys know that if you have to leave early or come late, you are more than welcome to do that as well. So you don't have to stay here the whole 30 minutes if you're not able to. All right, you guys, until we meet again, I want to wish you so much love and so many blessings. I'll speak to you so soon. All right, bye, everybody. Bye, Randy. See you soon.